Hi, I'm Pei. So today I'll be presenting my capstone project BoardX. There are several topics that I'll cover in the process of this presentation, including a brief introduction about this project, the research and problem, and also the design solutions and some takeaways. So you might be wondering, what is BoardX? So basically, BoardX is an online whiteboard tool for collaboration. So ever since COVID started, whiteboard has been often used to accommodate the change that the work mode switched from on-site to online. And in this presentation, we developed and designed private board to improve productivity for different scenarios based on our research findings. So at the beginning of this project, we had a kickoff meeting with the product manager. So we talked about the future vision for BoardX, and we agreed that BoardX could be a potential tool for hybrid working environment in the future. Considering the workflow of using whiteboard, including collaboration, storytelling, and feedback, we want to fill the gap between the virtual working environment to hybrid mode. So the product manager also mentioned that currently BoardX needs to improve the user's engagement and provide users more flexibility so that we can keep BoardX users motivated and they could have a better performance in different collaboration scenarios. So the first question is, what is the essential difference between on-site and online working environment? So we compared those two scenarios based on our working experience, and we found that previously we were supposed to work both individually and collaboratively in teamwork. So for example, when you're in a workshop, you actually have your own working space and time before the team have discussions. But online whiteboard platform doesn't focus on individual working experience, but more on how the team collaborates. So in other words, users' privacy is not valued. And that's how we started to focus on the privacy. So why does privacy matter to collaborative workflows? So based on our desktop research, we found that privacy is equally important for users to process the information, and people could be stressed out without privacy. So on the wish list for another whiteboard competitor, we found that having a private mode for participants' input is also a highly requested feature. So users said they can be distracted either actively or passively by seeing other participants' efforts on the board while coming up with their own ideas. So as designers, how can we leverage the creative capital of privacy in online collaborative environments by design solutions? So we interviewed some whiteboard users to see what their concerns are in different scenarios. Some users said they need to switch programs to take down notes in presentation, or sometimes they don't want to see what other people are doing during brainstorm, or they feel embarrassed when others can see what they're typing. And we summarized the scenarios when users have the privacy issues, including workshop, brainstorm, facilitating presentation, etc. And then we talked with the product manager about our research findings and users' concerns. And we think that participants need a private board to think and work individually for a better collaboration experience. And the most important value that we want to bring is productivity. So we started our private board designed by the format. And the question is, what is the most intuitive way to show the private board to users? So we proposed 4 different options and compared the pros and cons. And we ended up using the floating window, considering the flexibility of this format. Users can move the board, maximize or minimize it, but it's still under the main board, and users won't be distracted and thinking if they're opened, if they open to separate boards or not. So let's have an overview for the private board. So again, it could be moved around and on top of the main board, maximize it when users need to focus on the private working space, or minimize it when they work on public space to keep the consistency with mainboard. So the private board shares the same toolbars. With the mainboard, like adding sticky notes, sketching, or adding templates. So on the top right side, some of the tools that are originally designed for teamwork, like vote, presentation, will be disabled when users are working in the private board. Also, the board will be highlighted when it's being used so that users won't be confused which working space they're on. To have a better personal working experience, we added this screenshot tool. Users can take a screenshot of the content from the main board, paste it into the private board, and add notes for their own use. When they're lost where the content is referencing from on the main board, they have the option to track location. This could be used in different scenarios, like when you need to take down questions in a presentation, or have some ideas but not ready to share it with team members yet. And we also consider the interaction between the two boards. So when the personal content needs to be shared in public, and users can easily just drag and drop to add it on main board. We also want to avoid missed operation by confirming the move. Also, to provide more control on the private content, users are able to export all or selected area from the previous private board into PDF or image for their offline use. And also, before you leave the page, if you are a team member, the private board will be automatically saved with the main board when you close the file. For the guests who are invited to the board, they will get this private board saving warning to remind them exporting their content. So after designing the private board, we try to implement it into a brainstorm scenario where there will be two different characters, facilitator and participants. So the workflow of brainstorm also includes the individual working session and collaboration. So it starts from facilitator giving sticky notes to the participants, and they will work on their own with limited time. Then they will post their ideas together to review as a group. So the facilitator will have more control on the whole process, while the participants focuses more on their individual work. So for the facilitator, they have this facilitating option to start a brainstorm mode by choosing different templates. Facilitator will see how many people are brainstorming, and when they end this section, all the ideas will be posted together in the template, just like the physical experience. And the post could be mixed and anonymous for different purposes. For the participants, when the brainstorm session starts, they will only be able to work on the brainstorm board individually so that they won't be distracted by seeing what other people are working. So when it's done, they will submit it and publish to main board, and they can keep updating it before the session ends. We also designed this encouraging message to keep them motivated for more input. So out of all these design solutions, we want to emphasize that brainstorm is just one of the scenarios that we used private board for more exploration. And we don't want to put limitation on users. And instead, they should be the one to decide how to use it. For example, if you're a teacher, you can let students do their homework on private board before submit it. Or if you are a presenter, you can write down your presentation notes in it and reference the original content. And here are some additional supplements for the design. So we provided design specs to engineers, and we used the design system to make sure the new feature is consistent with the current product. So at the end of this project, we give a presentation to the product team, and they agreed that this feature highly aligns with the vision of how BoardX could develop in the future with great potential for multi-purpose use. It also provides more flexibility to users and will keep users motivated. So, and also three of the most significant lessons learned for me is that, first of all, design decision is not always made by only designers. It could also be affected by how the product team vision the product in the long term. And also when the product manager gives more insights on competitiveness. And also design system is the key for making the design consistent with the product. And again, the product team working together improves the efficiency. Thank you for listening. That's all for my presentation of this project.